Leela. L-E-E-A. Yeah, L-E-E-L-A. Howdy, folks. What do you call my ex? Braindead. And speaking of, this week I'm going to be looking at the 1992 classic Braindead, or better known in America as Dead Alive, directed by Peter Jackson. So, getting into the film, it starts off on Skull Island, which is obviously a reference to King Kong, and it's set in 1957, because in 13 years' time, Peter Jackson directs the King Kong reboot that comes out. Two blokes are carrying a bamboo box with a monkey in it before one of the men drops the box and they are ambushed by a native tribe. The tribe demands the monkey is set free and they must leave this valley. The smart-ass glasses-wearing man declares that he has a permit and pulls out a machine gun and shoots it at the tribe men. They run away and he machetes the bamboo rails off the box so they can get away quicker. In Indiana Jones style, they run away to their escape vehicle, this time in the form of a jeep. The local man doesn't make it, but the British man tells them to step on it, but they get over a bump and the monkey manages to scratch the British man. The local man catches it up, and as they are escaping, the local men notice the British man's scratches and they kick him off the jeep before cutting his hands and leg off. They notice one scratch on his head and they go in for the swing with the title card. I love the handheld camera that they use throughout this film. It's first used when they're in the dock and it's in the plane looking at the cops paying off the smugglers. The local man has a worried look on his face as the plane is leaving with the monkey on it. The plane with the monkey ends up in Wellington, New Zealand, and the monkey heads to New Zealand Zoo. We then get some lovely shots of a 1950s New Zealand town before we get introduced to Paquita, the shopkeeper and the love interest of the movie. Paquita is in love with the delivery man, so she wears a pretty sundress and the little slut gets her straps to fall down. Then a creepy Disney witch grabs her arm and then they do tarot cards. The old woman declares that the woman will fall in love with a man with a symbol of a star as the guide. The woman notices a card that has oppression labelled on it and asks about it, but the old woman quickly ushers the cards away. You gotta love the dad, he's a big Italian man.
Romance? What about money?
Greasy wife-beater vest with the braces, eating God knows what. As customers come into the store, he makes his daughter go and sort them out. The customer is our main character, Lionel. He drops fruit everywhere and he's a bit of a creep and he wears an awful 50s sweater and he comes to pick up his mum's order. He's clearly drawn inspiration from Norman Bates in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. As Lionel goes to pull a sweet out from the counter, there's a big close-up and it knocks over, creating a formation of a star, and that sends the woman into a frenzy as she starts walking towards Lionel, freaking him out, causing him to run away. Lionel nearly gets run over by the tram, and Paquita is now in love with Lionel. Yes, it's that simple, guys. Just do some tarot cards. When Lionel makes it home, his mum is bossing him around. He's a bit of a mama's boy, and she has been voted treasurer-elect of the Wellington Ladies Welfare League, and she claims that the president of the league will be coming over in a few days. She complains how messy the house is and makes him mow the lawn. It is a vibrant, colourful world, and I love the use of symmetrical close-up shots Jackson uses to draw attention to the key things in this world.
Party's over.
No, Paquita comes to the house to drop off the order. She tries to make moves on Lionel and that freaks him out again, but she pretends to be super duper foreign and tricks the man into asking her out to the zoo. In Norman Bates style, as the mother looks down on her son and this new woman outside her house, clearly being jealous of her son's new lover. The mother begins to guilt trip her son by bringing up his dead dad. Lionel and Paquita go on a date to the zoo and he sees some water and begins having a PTSD attack because when he was younger he fell off a pier and his dad managed to save him, but he did not save himself, bringing that guilt trip to a forefront. This girl read a tarot card and now she's gone absolutely nuts for this guy. They go to see a monkey and it is very stop motion. It's the rat monkey from the beginning and it kills and eats another monkey's arm in front of them. The zookeeper comes out and takes it away.
Poor little bugger.
Before telling them about Skull Island and how rats raped monkeys. Also, the tribe used them for black magic. Very oddly, the mother has gone to the zoo and spied on her son's date. While doing so, she slips and leans against the rat monkey's enclosure and gets bitten and makes a vicious screech, alerting Lionel instantly, knowing his mother's scream.
Mom!
The mother brutally and comedically stomps on the stop-motion monkey, very similar in editing and effects and humour as Sam Raimi's Evil Dead. The mother's name is Vera, before I go ahead. Paquita tries to help Vera's wounds, but Vera uses this as an excuse to drag Lionel from his date. There's then sad piano music, and Lionel takes his mother home. The nurse comes around to see Vera's wounds. Vera makes Lionel apologise for upsetting her and makes him promise that it won't happen again. As Lionel is getting changed for bed, Paquita comes outside his windows in 80s fashion, holding a boombox and shouting his name. He sneaks her up and he explains that his mother needs looking after, so it is hard to have a relationship. The woman is so fucking desperate for that mummy boy dick. Lionel lets Paquita down easily and she gives him a rose, and that changes his mind, so they make out. We get loads of close-ups of Vera's wound, and the monkey bite is pussing and pulsating, and there's a cross edit between Vera not doing well, the creepy old lady from the start laying down more tarot cards, and Lionel and Paquita making love, all before the bite explodes pus everywhere. In the morning, Lionel greets his mother with a breakfast to find her in a much worse state. Great effect and sound design for her wound. It's oozing and pussing and gloppy and slimy. It's great. The president of the Ladies' Welfare Club arrives. Vera springs out of bed to get herself ready, much to his dismay, so Lionel goes down to buy her some time. When he goes up to the room, he notices that his mother's cheek is falling off, so he superglues her cheek back onto her face. A horrible dinner where his mother speaks like a retard struggling to eat. They eat custard, and Vera's wound squirts pus into the husband's custard, and he eats it unknowingly. It's very gross, and the president sees this, gagging and retching for her life. Vera's fucking ear falls off again, great effect, and it ends up in her food. She ends up eating it in front of the president. She leaves running out of the room, and the husband excuses her, saying that she's never good eating in public. After they leave, Lionel is seen cleaning the floor with some brown sludge, and you can only imagine it's either shit or the dissolving remains of Vera. Luckily, his spicy foreign piece, Paquita, comes in and lets him know that his tarot card results. She says that he is in bad danger and there are dark forces amassing against him. While they are having this conversation, Paquita's dog runs upstairs and they soon hear his mother screaming. Causing them to have a panic, they run upstairs to find that the mother is covered in blood with the dog tail hanging out of her mouth.
Your mother ate my dog!
Not all of it.
His mother goes full zombie mode and attempts to bite the both of them before falling down the stairs. They think that she is dead, so they get a nurse round, but Vera dies. Breaking Lionel's heart, the bitch boy cries, and then the nurse confides in him. The zombified mother sneaks up on the nurse and rips her head off. Lionel fights his mother and the zombified nurse, locking them in the basement, keeping the zombie part hidden from his new girlfriend as she's busy packing the mother's bag for hospital. When Paquita comes downstairs wondering where the nurse and the mother are, Lionel explains that they've gone to the hospital early. There is a spooky, misty shot of the house at night and werewolves are howling. Lionel goes to the doctor with a horrible Latvian accent claiming to escape the war, but there is a rip in his armband clearly showing that he was rooting for Hitler's team. He gets sedatives, basically ketamine, to knock out his mother and the nurse so they can stop them from going on a rampage. Using makeshift armor, Lionel goes into the basement with a syringe. He manages to get the nurse in the eye, knocking her out, but his mother sneaks up on him. I love the grim and grotty style compared to the fun and vibrant style at the start of the movie. Great effect when he shoves the syringe up the mother's nose. Our boy Lionel is having a PTSD attack about being drowned following the attack. In an act of desperation to find out what the hell is going on, he heads to Paquita's grandmother to do a live tarot card reading. The grandmother tells Lionel he is surrounded by death and that he is marked. The grandmother gives Lionel a necklace containing the white light to help him defeat the evil that will be amassing him. Lionel's mother has escaped from the basement while Lionel was at the shop getting his tarot card reading, and on her way over she gets hit by the tram and she flies through the shop window looking horribly disfigured. A crowd then swarms and Lionel quickly sedates her. So now the charade is up, and as the crowd surrounds his mother, we cut to the funeral and a few people are talking how Lionel was very keen to see his mother's remains. The priest looks like John Cleese mixed with Father Ted, and a mix of John Candy and Biff from Back to the Future shows up to hit on Paquita.
I can tell you're not a Cosgrove. You're far too good looking.
Pardon?
Liz is the name. I'm Lionel's. Lionel's uncle.
out to be Lionel's uncle Les. Lionel is sneaking around the morgue to discover his mother is being pumped full of embalming liquid. The mortician and his assistant, who happens to be director Peter Jackson, walk in and try to stop the disaster. I noticed that the assistant picks up a sandwich that's on top of the body that's completely covered in this embalming liquid, and then he proceeds to eat it. Lionel breaks into her coffin during the ceremony to sedate her, but she begins to attack him, bursting through her own coffin. Lionel accidentally falls through a window with his zombie mother straight into the ceremony, but luckily managing to sedate her just before anybody sees it. After the funeral, Paquita tries to comfort Lionel, but he doesn't want any of that Mexican pussy. Lionel's uncle Les overhears a group of people talking about how Lionel is the sole beneficiary to his mother's fortune. Lionel is going fucking nuts late at night as he goes to the graveyard and digs up his zombie mother. Why is he hiding it from everybody? Why doesn't he just go to the authorities, or why doesn't he just go to a doctor? Probably because he's got that Norman Bates mummy syndrome, but who knows. I forgot this film was set in the 50s, but he is accosted by a 50s greaser gang while digging.
Hey guys, look what I found.
They kick the shit out of him and mug him before the leader begins pissing on his mother's grave before she brings him to the ground and rips his dick off, tearing a hole in his stomach. This creates a panic and they end up killing a few more as Lionel tries to stop her, but Vera draws the attention of the priest. The gang become members of the undead. The priest is easily one of the best characters with lines like,
"Stay back, boy. This calls for divine intervention. I kick ass for the Lord."
And all the spin kicks he does. It's really hard to hate him. It's clear to say that this film does not take itself very seriously. Sadly, the priest gets bitten by the decapitated head of a zombified gang member he beheads before being thrown into a stone monument, piercing his own stomach. Lionel feeds a zombified nurse, priest, greaser, and his own mother. There is a great effect of the nurse eating the food and oozing out of her neck, and the greaser hilariously shoves the spoon through his entire head. The priest and the nurse make out instantly as Lionel gets up to leave. Lionel's uncle Les comes to visit, and Lionel's uncle tries to get himself in the will. They start hearing sex noises, which raises Les's suspicion and asks what the noise is.
It's the pipes. They do this sometimes.
It's not the pipes, Lionel. That's somebody doing the business.
Please, Uncle Liz, you just gotta leave.
So you found your dad's old stag movies, hey? Is that the one with the donkey and the chambermaid?
No, please.
After successfully getting Les away, Lionel goes back to the dining room to see the nurse and the priest fucking on the table, with the nurse ripping off the priest's lips and eating them. Later, the zombie nurse is seen on the floor and her belly bursting open full alien style, foreshadowing a baby. Paquita notices Lionel walking down the road, but Lionel does a classic disappearing behind a vehicle act, but he's actually hidden behind a car behind that vehicle, which slowly moves away. Paquita goes to confront him, but as Lionel is explaining, the delivery driver from the beginning of the movie attacks Lionel, defending his new Mexican pussy. Lionel goes to the basement where he keeps the zombies, and he notices the nurse is on the floor. He turns down the radio, and as he does so, the zombified baby pops out of the nurse. Lionel is fucked. He takes the zombie baby to the park. He begins to try and play with the zombie baby, but ends up launching the pram down the hill before they have a vicious fight in front of everybody. It's a really fun and playful scene as he smacks the head of the baby on the swing set.
Hyperactive.
When Lionel makes it home, he finds that the basement door is open and he's confronted by his uncle Les. Les tries to blackmail Lionel into giving him the inheritance and the house. Lionel is in the basement trying to sedate the zombies when he accidentally drops the bottle of cat. After dropping the bottle of tranquilizer, he goes to the front door where he's ambushed by a swarm of Les's mates wanting to party. The horde of Kiwis swarm his home. Les takes Lionel into the kitchen and tells him to bury the bodies as quick as he can. While serving food at his own party, Lionel is told by Les that he's nothing like his father and that the fit blonde comes onto Lionel. Paquita and her new man, the delivery guy from earlier, are walking down the street as he's talking about himself and football before Paquita notices a party happening at Lionel's house, so she sneaks up and goes up. Les grabs Paquita as soon as she gets in and tries to make moves on her. Paquita hits him in the dick and runs away to the basement. While in the basement, Paquita finds the zombies and the greaser manages to get on top of her, with Lionel coming in to rescue by using a rake to stab him in the head and puts the rake in a vice to keep him in place. Paquita quotes her grandmother by saying death surrounds him while looking at the zombies before telling Lionel that he must destroy them, but he says he can't because it's his mother. She claims that it's no longer his mother. Lionel fills a syringe with poison and shoves it up his mum's nose, and then they do the exact same thing to the rest of the zombies, finishing off with a basement burial. So Lionel and Paquita try and make their way through the party, but they get stopped by Les, who attacks Paquita, causing Lionel to punch Les, and Les angrily shoves Lionel back into the basement. He then grabs Paquita and pulls her by the hair into the kitchen, and he's getting pretty rapey. While on the basement floor, Lionel notices the bottle of poison that they use says that it's just for animal consumption and not for humans. And then suddenly, in a cartoonish way, the zombies leap out of the ground with a dramatic sound and lighting, and they seem even more enraged. Lionel desperately bangs on the basement door, and just in time a partygoer opens it. Lionel locks the door behind him, but the zombies, they end up knocking down the door, and the partygoer gets stuck underneath it, and they rip his rib cage out of his chest. Zombies go wild at the party. It's an absolute massacre. This is honestly one of the bloodiest movies I have ever seen. Trapping Paquita, Lionel and Les in the laundry room, they are swarmed before Les makes a run for it through the window, leaving Lionel and Paquita to defend themselves. But Lionel manages to make a way for Paquita and tells her to run. Remaining survivors are trying to board up a room as they drag in a guy, but his legs have been eating other than the bone. There is a woman who gets punched through the face, and the shot looks like it's used as sex doll. Lionel manages to break through part of the wall and escaping the horde in the laundry room, but ends up in the main hall where we are treated to very bloody zombies eating very real and bloody flesh. Lionel Looney Tune runs in blood before using their heads as stepping stones. Les gets stuck in the garden shed with the priest before he begins pulling out the priest's teeth with pliers. Paquita saves a woman called Rita from a zombie and shoves the zombie's head into a light for a very unique image. Lionel splits the greaser into two. Les makes a run for it, cutting one of the zombies' heads off. Greaser's legs continue to fight after Lionel has cut the greaser in half. His insides look in the mirror, checking themselves out. I don't really understand this bit, and I don't really understand this whole character or whatever. It's like some weird little worm alien thing that was inside the greaser. Is it an alien tapeworm? Zombie alien tapeworm. Lionel is in the attic and sees pictures of his dad with a woman that he has been seeing in his dreams drowning. Paquita is fighting the baby zombie before trying to put it in a blender, but she ends up punching out the window straight onto Les, who is fighting for his life. Trying to get Paquita and Rita to open the barricade, he manages to do so, and once he is in, he notices Rita's bite and immediately tries to kill her. Paquita defends Rita and says that she'll be fine. Lionel discovers a dead body and a photo of his dad with a blonde woman. Piecing together they must have had an affair and Vera had killed them both. Lionel falls through the ceiling with the zombie worm holding onto him, suspending as Paquita finds him. Les is hacking and slashing and chops apart loads of zombies in the kitchen before lighting a cigarette, looking real proud of himself. Lionel is being dragged up to the attic by the weird baby zombie worm thing. Les begins to chase the baby zombie around the house with a kitchen knife. Lionel is holding onto a banister trying to support himself as he sees Paquita struggling. Just as he notices she gets bit, she screams out this horrible voice. Lionel accidentally swings straight through a stained glass window. It is revealed that the zombie that had bit Paquita actually had dentures, so she's not infected. The editing at this point is incredibly quick, bringing a clear sense of the chaos throughout the entire house. Les follows the baby to the basement where he's introduced to the mother of all bosses, his sister Vera. She is now an enormous monster who does a predator on Les and rips his head and spine out of his body. Just as Paquita and Rita are about to be eaten, Lionel comes to the rescue with his trusty lawnmower in the most infamous scene of the movie.
Party's over.
Lionel goes on an absolute kill streak, an absolute massacre. He does what he needs to do, turning every single zombie into a blood soup and goop. Thinking that he's defeated all of them, the greaser returns with really fucked up legs looking like a T-Rex. Lionel ends up shoving him into the lawnmower. There's wicked imagery when Rita starts to have an infection and the baby rips from within her head, tearing a hole through her face but leaving it intact. It's very cool, very cool. Lionel finally kills the weird worm thing. Lionel's mother comes through the floor and revealed her full self, and it is hideous, although she is kind of thick though. Paquita and Lionel are running for their life through the house as they make an escape through the chimney and climb onto the roof. The music at this point is very similar to Grizzly Tales for Gruesome Kids, if you ever watched that. Lionel faces his mother, telling her that he hates her and that he knows that she killed his dad and his mistress, and for years that she's been lying to him that he drowned trying to save Lionel. Paquita tries to find a way off the roof while this is happening, but she gets smacked by the hideous, gigantus Vera. Vera opens her stomach and Lionel accidentally slides in. Paquita, devastated, starts crying, but Lionel manages to cut himself out using the necklace that the grandmother gave him at the beginning of the movie. This causes Vera to fall back and fall into the gaping hole that she created in the roof, and then she explodes. It ends with the emergency services going to the house and Paquita and Lionel having a moment where they make out with goo on their face and you can see the zombie baby burning in the fire. Credits roll. There you go. Enjoy the movie. Thank you very much. Make sure you subscribe and all that shit. Thank you.